I'm Jack J. Welcome to the Riot API guide. I'm not going to monetize this video or anything, but I will just do a shout out to my own product, which is the Itero Drafting Coach. It's an artificial intelligence tool that can optimize your draft by telling you which of your champions are the best to pick. You can either get it at itero.gg or you can get a downloadable version which comes into game with you at Overwolf. Just search Overwolf Itero Drafting Coach. Okay, I hope you enjoy the video. This is the first video in a series that I'll be doing on the Riot API. Now, if that doesn't mean anything to you, then essentially, if you've ever used something like UGG or OPGG, a place where you can see lots of data about the game, whether it's a champion win rate, maybe information about your account, such as your recent games, your current rank, profile picture, or whatever, that all comes from the Riot API. It's essentially Riot's data storage, where they store all the data that happens in the game and about accounts. They make that available to us developers, and we can make requests and say, hey, can I have this piece of data? And then they send that back and we can do cool things with it. So the first thing you want to do is just head over to developer.riotgames.com and do the sign up process. It's very quick. You just have to agree to some terms and conditions. And once you're past that, you'll end up here in the home of the console. This is where you'll manage everything to do with your Riot API. And most importantly, that'll be your key, so your development API key. And what we have to do is just say, I'm not a robot, and hit regenerate. And that will give you a fresh key. Now, I'm happy to show you what that key is because it expires after 24 hours. So by the time this video hits the light of day, this key will be long gone. So I'm not worried about that. And all we're going to do is just copy that, and we're going to head over to Python and just replace the key that I made earlier with that. So this is now our Riot API key stored in Python. And the first thing we want to do is make our first request, but we don't know what URL we're going to hit. So we head back over to the console and we click APIs. And on the left-hand side, what you're going to see is a list of all the different APIs available. It's a bit intimidating at first, but it covers most of their games. You've got TFT, League, and Valorant somewhere as well at the bottom. So it's a bit overwhelming because it's all of their games. But what we're going to do here is focus on League of Legends, and we're going to look at this Summoner v4. Now, Summoner v4 is basically anything attached to your summoner name. So as we can see here is the list of all the different APIs that are available through this Summoner v4. The one we're interested in is this one here, which is basically you use your summoner name, which is the only information we'll have at the moment. So if we click on that, it's going to give us some information. So what are the sort of things it accepts as inputs, and then what are the sort of things it returns as outputs, as well as the status codes you return. Now, you're looking for a 200, which isn't listed here, but 200 is basically a successful API request. But this will give you some more information about possible errors that you might be having. Now, we scroll down a little bit and we'll get to the path parameters, which is actually where we input our information. So I'm going to type in my summoner name, which is Jack J, and my region, which is EU West 1. And then I'm going to use my development API key. We hit execute request. And below that, now we're going to see the 200. So I mean, successful, we've done it right. We're going to get some header information, which not so important, but useful just about general information about the API that you've sent. But the thing that we actually care about here is the response body. So this contains all the information that's available through this API about my account. So what you can see is you get the ID, account ID, and PUU ID. It's a bit confusing, their system, because they do have multiple IDs, and those IDs can be used in different places. So you might have to do a bit of test and learn to work out which ID you're meant to be using, but there's usually a good error that says, hey, you've used the wrong ID, you should be using this one, and then you can update your code. We also get some more information like which profile icon I'm using. This is the Fnatic 2015 Worlds icon, I believe. I think this is the most recent time that you've been logged in, and then my summoner level. Now, that's great. We've got it on the portal, but obviously we want to get this into Python. So if we head back up, you'll see this is the URL that we're sending. So we're just going to copy that, and we're going to say API URL. I'm going to hit that in. Now, how do we actually send this URL off? we're going to use a package called requests. So we import requests, and then we can send it off with the get function. We send API URL off. So we get 401 as our response back. So let's go back up to this and see what it is, and it says unauthorized. What that's saying is basically you don't have a valid API key to do this request. And if you're a bit confused, you've got to remember that the URL we're sending has no knowledge about this information. So we're just sending this. What I mean is we need to somehow attach this key to this URL so that when their server is checking to make sure we have permission to get the data, it has the appropriate key back and it can say, yeah, that's a valid key, here's the data. So to do that, we're just going to add an argument to the end of the URL. Now with any API request, the way you add the argument is like this. So we do API key is equal to, and then we're going to add the API key. And what you'll see is the same URL we sent before, except now it's got this question mark, which means argument, and then we have the API key with the API key attached to it. So we'll set that as the variable. And then the next time we send this off, we should hopefully get a 200. Oh, perfect. But obviously this is just a response. It doesn't really help us because it's not got any data in. So we just make a small adjustment, we turn that into the response itself. And then to get the JSON out of it, we do this response.json. So we now have the account information. So the next thing we're going to do is just assign that. And now we have this, and we can bring it anywhere with us. So if we want to have, let's say, the account ID, we can just say account ID and put player account ID. Now that's usable whenever we want. Cool. So that's the end of the intro to the Riot API, and I'll see you at the next one.